Another counsellor at the Kandakadu Treatment and Rehabilitation Centre has tested positive for COVID-19. As of today, 447 individuals from the Kandakadu Treatment Centre have tested positive for the virus.
The officer attached to the Tissavawa Army Camp in Anuradhapura has served as a counsellor at the Kandakadu Treatment and Rehabilitation Centre for several years. On the 1st of this month, he visited Rajangani in Anuradhapura to attend the funeral of an associate, while the almsgiving was held at his residence.
The counsellor who tested positive for the virus in Rajangani on the 1st of this month had visited this place to carry out his counselling duties. The next day, that is on the 2nd, he had returned to Anuradhapura. But he did not enter the army camp that evening as he had to attend a funeral in Rajangani. He is a resident of the Yayapaha area in Rajangani. After the funeral on the 2nd, his final rites were held the next day. It was revealed today that his two children, one aged 11 and the other an infant aged 1.5, had tested positive. The child aged 11 had attended tuition classes on the 4th, 6th and 7th. The child was a student at a school in an area called Track 1. There are about 70 students in that class. All 70 of them have already been directed to self-quarantine. About 150 people had attended the funeral that was held in the evening on the 3rd of this month. All 150 of them have been identified and have been directed to self-quarantine. The almsgiving was held on the 6th. Another 80 people had attended this event. They have been identified and directed to self-quarantine as well. Some question as to why the Kandakadu Rehabilitation Centre was transformed into a hospital dedicated to treat COVID-19 patients. We must understand that we are dealing with a group of drug addicts who are in the process of rehabilitating themselves. With more COVID-19 cases being detected, several rumours and misinformation are spreading among the general public.
විවිධ කතාකතා මේ රට තුල පැතිරෙමින් පවතුනා. කිසිදු කතාකතාවකට හමු වීමට අවශ්‍යතාවයක් නැහැ.
Health officials have already taken steps to close all tuition classes in the Rajangane and Thamuttegam areas until further notice. Meanwhile, with the detection of 300 cases yesterday, the number of COVID-19 cases reported from Sri Lanka rose to 2,464. The Government Information Department said 283 among the 300 were detected from the Kandakadu Treatment and Rehabilitation Centre, while another 3 were individuals who had associated a COVID-19 patient. 9 of them had returned from India, 3 had returned from the UAE and 1 had returned from Pakistan. Another prison inmate at the Valikada prison tested positive for the virus yesterday. The Government Information Department said he had associated the inmate who tested positive for the virus previously.
At one point, the PCR test might be negative, but later it may be positive. Just because a selected set of individuals of one group is subjected to PCR tests does not mean the remaining individuals cannot be carriers of the virus. So the best option is to undergo quarantine. We may find another set of individuals who test positive for the virus, but that does not mean that they are another cluster.
Sri Lanka Army said 238 individuals who had undergone quarantine in 8 quarantine facilities across the island will leave for their homes. Army media spokesperson Brigadier Chandana Wickramasinghe said, as at date, a total of 20,956 individuals have completed quarantine at the quarantine facilities island-wide. He added that another 5,889 individuals are currently undergoing quarantine in 49 quarantine centres. These were the views expressed by health unions regarding certain decisions made by health authorities while ignoring health directives.
We didn't see attention being paid towards the warnings we issued. Health officials have not gazetted the health directives that must be followed to curb COVID-19. The guideline hasn't been legalized as well. Following the funeral of Thondaman, several election rallies are taking place by undermining the sacrifices of the people and officials. Gazette the guidelines relating to the election. If this situation continues, we will have to withdraw from our services as we cannot expose our officers to risk. We will allow the responsible health ministry officials to do the needful while protecting our officers. The future will depend on the decisions made by political authorities. A technical committee chaired by the Director General of Health Services that was appointed to make these decisions has not met for more than a month. That is very serious. We wish to warn that if we experience a second wave, we will not hesitate to divulge the details of those who must be held responsible over that.